Hey everybody, good morning. It is Coach Jessica. How are y'all doing? Wanted to check in as we begin to close in on the end of this month. I can't believe it's almost the end of October. Don't forget, we have our our fourth call on Sunday night at 7 o'clock. Be there live if you can. It is so much better when it's live. And you are there with us. So just wanted to remind you that that is this Sunday at 7. And then, of course, we have some new folks that will be coming into a November group. I'll be putting up the link for those of you who would like to participate in the November group. There's going to be a huge focus on gratitude as we move into this Thanksgiving season, and really just tying gratitude to staying clean and making good choices with your food. I love to say that gratitude always overcomes stinking thinking. What is stinking thinking? Stinking thinking is things like, I can never do this. I always mess up. I can only make it a certain amount of time and then I fail. This is too hard. I'm bored with my food. All those are stinky thinking sort of phrases. And of course there's many, many more, but you cannot exist. Stinking thinking cannot exist in the same space as gratitude. So there will be a focus on gratitude in the November group, and I'm really excited about that. But I wanted to ask you a question today, and y'all have heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again. It is time to ask yourself this question. If you are not moving towards freedom, and I say moving towards freedom because freedom doesn't happen all at one time. There isn't a moment where you suddenly get free. I believe that's possible, but it's also less common. And I think the reason that we don't have this moment where we suddenly get free is because we need to work through a process that changes us forever. If we are just handed freedom, or we're given that instant healing or freedom, a lot of times we don't appreciate it, so we don't hold on to it, and it doesn't change us. We need to be changed. When you have decades of dysfunction, you actually need to go through a process of refining and changing your thoughts and all of those things. So it's really good, even though it's hard to think of it that way, it's really good that this happens, that freedom happens bit by bit by bit. But if you are not moving forward in freedom, I guess that the question would be, am I more free today than I was on October 1st? Am I thinking differently? Am I moving in the right direction? If that's not the case, why? And the question I love to ask is, what's getting in my way? What is getting in my way of moving forward in freedom? Again, there's no expectation that in 1 month you're going to be free of something that's plagued you your whole life, but you should be moving towards freedom. So I wanted to make some suggestions, but you need to ask this for yourself, and I would love to hear from y'all what your thoughts are on this. But if you ask yourself that question, what's getting in my way of really, truly, consistently moving forward freedom? And that doesn't mean that I'm having one day where I feel free and the next day I'm struggling and then I'm free and then I'm struggling. Moving towards freedom is creating some kind of consistency. So when I talk about freedom, remember, freedom is not the absence of ed. It's not the absence of disordered thoughts. It's not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of purpose. It is the presence of peace. And so some of the reasons why you might be struggling, and some of the things that might be getting in your way, and again, this is just to get you pointed in the right direction in just food for thought, is physical withdrawals. Some of you will go through 4 days, and on day 4 you consistently go backwards, because day 4 has proven to be the day that is the peak of physical cravings, and so many people quit on the 4th day, and really once you push through the 4th day, physical cravings get better. You may be having emotional withdrawals. The thing about it is, when you have issues with emotional eating and you suddenly say, well, I'm not going to eat to soothe my emotions anymore, you have to full on feel. You have to fully feel. You have to face the world without the buffer of food. And sometimes that is such a shock to us. We're like, why am I suddenly feeling, more anxious? Or why am I feeling more sad? Why am I feeling more afraid? Well, because you have been using food to kind of buffer those feelings. And even though it doesn't work a long time because the feelings come back, it does give you a quick hit. It gives you a quick fix, at least for a little while, that numbs you out just like any other drug does. The third reason why you might be struggling is lack of acceptance. And what I mean by that is you haven't really seen food for the stronghold that it is in your life. You don't really see what it's doing for you. You don't see it as destructive as it truly is. You make allowance for it. You make room for it. Number 4, lack of commitment or willingness to surrender to the daily process. What does that look like? It means I say I'm going to do a thing, but I don't do it. Because commitment, remember, means I do what I say I'm going to do regardless of temporary feelings or external circumstances. So lack of commitment is a big deal. And that lack of being willing to surrender to a daily process. Sometimes that daily process just looks like I wake up and I check in with the group and I say, hey, here's my intention for the day. If you're not willing to even do that, you might be lacking in commitment or willingness to surrender to a daily process. Here's a big one, you guys. Got to be real with yourself. You're not doing the work. And I'm not saying that in judgment. I'm saying I've been there before. Every week I give you some journal questions, and they're not just to give you work to do. It's because when you document, when you write down your thoughts on these things, it really helps you dig into why you do what you do. And if you don't understand why you do what you do, you'll keep doing it. So have you documented your areas of vulnerability? Have you identified whether each of those areas is compulsive or emotional? Because you treat them two different ways. Have you documented the lies that you believe that are attached to each one of those situations? Because remember, in every situation where you make a food choice that is damaging to your body, you have believed something and agreed with it and then taken steps to put it in place. Remember, Ed is not the all-powerful who can make you move and make you do something. He simply plants a thought. You have to agree with the thought. You have to listen, you have to agree, you have to make a plan, you have to take an action. So if you don't understand the lies that you're believing, then you're never going to be able to overcome them. And then, do you know the truth, and do you speak it out loud? We're going to talk a lot about that part, and I'm going to talk about it from a standpoint of authority. But knowing and speaking the truth out loud as often as necessary. You can't do it just once. And then finally, you aren't staying connected. Not staying connected is a big reason why you may not be moving towards freedom. Ed likes to keep us isolated. He thrives, when we're isolated, we can do all kinds of disordered behavior with no accountability. It's just us and Ed, and he loves to get us all by ourselves. The more connected you stay, the more likely it is you're going to be moving towards freedom. So those are just 6 thoughts. There's many more that I could say, but I wanted to share those with you. But the most important thing you can do this morning is ask yourself that question. Am I or am I not moving towards freedom? And maybe you're moving towards freedom, but it's going slower than you had hoped. Some of these might apply to you too. Maybe you're doing some of those things. Maybe you are staying connected. Or maybe you are, you've done some of the work, but you haven't done all the work. So take these to heart and say, how can I move forward with gusto towards a future that is better than my past when it comes to how I treat my body with food? So anyway, very curious to hear your thoughts. Looking forward to seeing y'all on Sunday at 7 Eastern on our regular Zoom link to close out our month strong. And like I said, we've got some new folks coming into the group, but really hoping a lot of you guys will continue on, as I know some of you typically always do, but I really hope many of you will choose to come along and just take this to the next level. No 2 months are ever exactly alike. It's always a continuation. It's always a building on. There's going to be, always some repetitive themes. We need those because we have not nailed them in 1 month. We need to repeat certain things, but there's always new things and new thoughts layered in to help you as you move forward in your journey. So anyway, hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Friday, and looking forward to seeing y'all on Sunday. Talk to you soon.